Hey friends, it's Mike. I took apart this Chinese Jaguar, this Fender clone, and it, has its issues. The first thing I wanted to do was to check out the wiring because I have a schematic of a Fender Jaguar. The switches on this guitar do not match up and they do not have the same functionality as a real Jaguar, so surprise there, right? But the first set of switches I wanted to work on is the bottom. So a way a Jaguar works, according to my research, because I wasn't very familiar with their wiring. The top part here, this is all the neck pickup stuff, and down here, this would be your bridge pickup switching. And this switch here, if it were attached to the pickguard, toggles the neck and then the bridge. But on this guitar it doesn't do that. On this guitar it has some subtle differences. I think it might be some phasing going on with the pickups, but it's very subtle. So I'll have to look at that some more. Down here, this switch here ends up being a kill switch. So it will turn the guitar on and turn the guitar off. On a real Jaguar, that's not what that switch does. That switch would be the neck pickup, this would be the bridge pickup, and this would be a mid gain cut. So I guess it cuts the mids out on the guitar, but these switches don't do that. Again, this is a kill switch on this guitar. This is the neck pickup, and this is the bridge pickup. But when I got this guitar, these two switches were swapped. So this, which you would intuitively say to yourself should go to the neck, was actually turning on the bridge, and this, which you would think to yourself should turn on or turn off the bridge, was actually working the neck pickup. A little confusing, right? So last night I had to swap the switches around. So now it's oriented correctly. The wiring on it is really cheesy. So what I ended up doing was splicing and resoldering to make sure that the wiring was on the switches properly, that they just didn't fall off. That's what was happening. The wires, if I picked this up when I first got it and I was pulling on it a little bit, the wires started to break from the solder. So I had to do that yesterday. This is what you get, right? It's coming out of China. It's $208, so it's not complaining. I'm just pointing things out. If you take a look at the routing, it's pretty bad. It's okay here. It's okay here. Although I don't know what this is all about up here. And it's okay here, but it's not okay over here. So what you can see is I put some dowels in, and I put them in with Titebond glue. So they're in there now like cement, here and here. So this I had to put in because when you go to tighten the pickguard down, well, the screw wasn't hitting anything. It was going into dead space. So now this will ensure that the screw goes into some wood and I can fasten the pickguard properly. When I first got the guitar, this out of the way, this is where this connects here. Now again, the pickguard is not on this thing, so just imagine it's a pickguard. This sits inside the pickguard. There's a cutout in the pickguard and this fits in it. So you can see that there is a screw hole here, right here, for this hole. And for this hole, well, there wasn't any. That's why I had to put this other dowel in. Instead, what they did was they supplied a very long screw to go in, and it was actually screwing into the bottom of the guitar, which is very cheesy. So I fixed that. So now this will fit properly, because what was happening is this was rocking. So if you push down here, this was rocking, and that's because it didn't have a base in which to screw into and to sit right here. Sorry if this camera's moving around, by the way. So, and you could see that there was really absolutely no need whatsoever to cut this out here. It should have just went like this. So whoever did this wasn't very familiar with the guitar, is my guess. The bridge was not oriented properly. It was angled almost like at a 30-degree angle like this. And I believe they maybe they did it that way because one is they were trying to replicate the kind of the angle on the actual prototype that Fender had, but the actual prototype, it wasn't as angled as they had it on here. And the reason why I think they did that was because they did not have the bridge sitting where it was supposed to be sitting properly. So they had to make some adjustments and turn it in order to get it where they can intonate the guitar. So what you see here is the numbers 25.5. So on Fender guitars, the length of the neck, starting at the nut all the way back to the bridge, so it's nut to bridge, is 25.5 inches. So this line here represents where the saddles should sit. And so I'm going to reorient the bridge on this guitar as well. This tailpiece plate, this post coming up, that's where the tremolo bar goes in. Well, when you string it up, the high E string is rubbing up against the side, which means that this is oriented too much to the right. I'll go here, get the light out of the way, to the right. So I'm going to unscrew it, and I'm going to fill the holes with some sawdust and Type-On so that, it's rock solid. And what I've got to do is I've got to move the tailpiece just over to the left a little bit, and by doing that, the problem over here will go away. You can see I took the pickups out, the pickups that were in there, and just, I don't know what these cost, maybe, $5 a piece, which is, again, is what you would expect. The guitar was $208, free shipping out of China. Okay? I mean, not that they sounded all that bad, but I'm going to swap them out. I bought some rails. They're black rails. That's going to look really sharp on the guitar when I'm done. All right, so that's what we have so far. The pots and all that stuff, the mini pots, they're working fine. I'll spray them down with some deoxit. I'm not planning on changing it all out. I don't want to put a ton of money into this. I mean, the pickups cost, for two of them, $40. And then I'm going to put a pickguard on, and I'm assuming that based upon my other transactions with WD Music, the pickguard might cost another $30 or $40. So let's just say $70 to get the guitar up to speed. All right, and let me just show you the pickguard for a second. I'm right back. Okay, so here's the pickguard. Now let me just get my pencil here and point a couple things out. So it's in 3 pieces, 1, 2, 3. And what I've done is I've taped it together because I'm going to save this. This is fine, all right? So I'm not going to replace this piece of the pickguard, and I'm not going to replace the pot portion of the pickguard. I am going to replace the main portion of the pickguard. And the reason for that is a couple of things. One, if you take a look at the cuts here, right? In China, when they have pickguards for Strats and Rickenbacker fakes, knockoffs, clones, whatever you want to call them, they're not machined properly. In fact, it always looks like they cut them by hand. So this looks like it was cut by hand. See how this is shaped? It shouldn't be shaped like that. Plus, this portion of the pickguard should butt up right up against the chrome. It's not real chrome, but you know what I'm saying. And it doesn't. So I have to, when I trace this for WD Music to cut it, I'm going to have to make sure that this white portion butts up against the chrome. The same thing here, right? Now, some people might think this is a nit, but you'd be surprised when you get a nice pickguard on the guitar and it aligns properly, it's edged properly, it looks really, really good. So the same thing here. See how this kind of just rides in? It doesn't butt up against this portion of the pickguard, so I have to adjust that. Take a look at the pickup cutouts. This one, well, let's go to the first one. This one looks okay. See, it's symmetrical, looks good. Take a look at this one. Right? Again, they're cutting it by hand. I don't know why. This hole here was because they made the hole so that the ground wire could come out, and the ground wire was stretched over to here because the bridge, as I mentioned before, wasn't aligned properly. It was like this. You shouldn't see the ground wire. So that means that the actual bridge should sit right about here, and it sits on top of the ground wire coming out of the body. All right, so you shouldn't be able to see this, or you shouldn't see this, is what I'm trying to say. And when I finish it, you won't see it. Now, going back to the pickguard, you can see here it's cut pretty good. This all looks good. And then we have a little bit of an alignment or edging problem right here. So I'll fix that. I actually bought a different plate. I bought an actual metal plate, chrome plate, to put in the guitar. Cost like $9, so I'll put that in. And this actually looks pretty good, although right here, it's probably going to be hard to see in the video. It's a little choppy, but not bad. Okay? Now, this pickguard's not going to be white. It's going to be a white pearloid, so that's going to look very nice. And it's going to look really nice with the chrome parts of the pickguard. And with the black pickups, yeah, it's going to look really, really nice. Again, I just have to figure out some more about these switches here, and I'll do that. Okay, so that's a status on this one. I'm done with the album now, so I'm back to futzing around with guitars, if anybody was wondering why all of a sudden I'm doing this again. All right, guys, have a great afternoon, and we'll talk soon.